Welcome to another edition of Who's Better Baseball, the podcast where we answer a simple question on each show. Who's better at baseball? I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein, managing editor, justbaseball.com. And on today's show, I wanted to look into Dansby Swanson's season so far because really it seems like he is doing about all you could ask for in the first year of a 7-year contract to prove that he's worth every penny. If you go back to this offseason, there was a lot of discussion about Swanson and the fact that he was going to be getting paid off of essentially one amazing season. He had a solid run in 2020, 2021, wins a World Series, puts up some pretty good numbers, particularly in the second half, but he was getting paid off of the year last year where he puts up the F4 north of 6. And there was questions about whether he could ever be that type of a shortstop again, and that's why he made less than any of the other free agent shortstops. You look at the deals they got. Bogaerts, it was $280 million over 11 years. Trey Turner, $300 million over 11 years. And then the Carlos Correa saga was a different entity all in itself, but it was still more money than Swanson on a shorter deal. $200 million, 6 years, compared to Swanson, who got the 177 over 7, little over $25 million a season. Right now, as we look early this year at the F4 leaderboard for shortstops, you see Wander Franco atop the list, 2.1 F4. Thairo Estrada, second at 1.9. Xander Bogaerts at 1.9. Bo Bichette at 1.9. And Dansby Swanson at 1.9. So he's been a top 5 shortstop in baseball, and he's tied with 3 other guys for the second best F4. Behind that, you find Lindor at 1.6, Tommy Edman, J.P. Crawford, Bobby Witt, Volpe. All the way down at 11, you find Trey Turner at 0.8. A little bit further down at 16, right behind Javi Baez, actually, you find Carlos Correa at 0.3. You look at the offensive numbers this year based on a weighted runs created plus. The best shortstop among all of the free agents, you think maybe it's Bogaerts, right? Because they got off to that great start to the year. It's Dansby Swanson. 120 WRC plus, 20% better than your league average hitter. Weighted runs created plus measures hitter based on a league average of 100. So at 120, that is 20% better than your league average hitter. And it's 3% better than Bogaerts at 117. And then all these other guys who signed these big deals, below average offensive season. Trey Turner, 85 WRC plus. He's hitting 256, 303 on base, 390 slug. Has more home runs, and it looks like he tied the RBIs that he put up in the WBC. But still had 5 home runs in the WBC, 4 home runs in 46 games with the Phillies. 6 stolen bases, but not great numbers across the board for him. And then you go to Carlos Correa, 213 average, 302 on base, 396 slug, 93 WRC plus. You go up and you look at what Swanson's doing this year, and here's the big thing that jumps out. The on-base percentage. And it's tied to a completely different walk rate than we've seen him put up throughout his career. I don't know if there's something in the water in Chicago, what it is, but Dansby Swanson seems to be seeing the baseball better than he ever has. He's in 267, 374 on base, 409 slug. I think there's definitely room for more power. So we know in Chicago, sometimes it's hard to leave the yard when the wind's blowing in, and maybe when you get to those warmer months throughout the summer, some of the home runs will come a little bit more. But, I mean, compare it to the last couple of years when it comes to his walk rate and strikeout rate. For his career, his walk rate's 8.9. Last year, it was 7. Year before, it was 8. 2020, it was 8.3. And he was striking out over 25% of the time every year. 26.9% in 2020, 25.6% in 2021, 26.1% 2022. This year, he's doubled his walk rate from 7 to 14. Okay, and he's striking out less than ever before at 21.8%, which would match the best mark of his career, where he had a strikeout rate of 21.8% in 2017. That year, though, he hit 232. So now you're hitting 267, and suddenly you got him grading out, above average across the board. And again, if he taps into a little more pop, and we saw him hit 25 home runs last year and 27 the year before that, if he ends up this season maintaining those strikeout and walk rates, but tapping into the pop a little bit more where he gets over 25 again, I mean, there's every chance that he finishes this year as a top 5 shortstop in baseball, if not even higher. And again, other guys are getting paid way more to play the position. And Dansby continues to be an above average defensive shortstop. You look at outs above average, he's in the 95th percentile right now. Last year, did he lead baseball, if I'm not mistaken? He had 22 outs above average last year. Let's look at the numbers on that, see if I'm correct. But, Xander Bogaerts is your outs above average leader this season. That is shocking. He's kept it up. We thought that the lack of a shift would hurt, Xander Bogaerts this season, but that does not seem to be the case. That's pretty interesting. But look, man, Dansby Swanson is, performing as good as you could have anticipated. Going back to last year, his outs above average 24 between the two seasons, and only Jonathan Scope has been better with his 27 outs above average last year that he posted. But look, man, what Dansby Swanson is doing is remarkable to see him kind of improve year over year, and this is a completely different layer to his game, to be walking more and to change his profile a little bit. That's just going to make him a more dependable player moving forward. I don't know if he can maintain a 14% walk rate, but he's chasing less than last year. His chase rate in the 91st percentile. That's certainly not what we saw last season. Last year, his chase rate was in the 66th percentile. His barrel percentage last year, 76th percentile. This year, 81st percentile. So I think he's barreling baseballs. If you look at, not compared to the league, but compared to last season, let's see. Yeah, barrel percentage up. Last year, 10.8. This year, 13. His average exit velocity is right on par from last year, 90.2 last year. This year, 90.5. Launch angle's down, so last year's launch angle was at 15.7. This year it's at 11.6, and he's not finding the sweet spot quite as often. But, if he tweaks that launch angle a little bit, continues to hit the ball as hard as he has, consistently as he has, finding barrels the way that he has, it's not like his max exit velocity has changed. It's been right around 109 miles per hour for each of the last, 4 years. So he's going to get back to that power. I really believe that he will. And if he continues this approach that he has, he's going to be even better than he was last season. I mean, last year he put up a 6.4 FWAR. There's every chance that he does it again. And if Dansby Swanson is this player for the next 3 years of the deal, and then maybe comes back down to earth a little bit, for what they're paying him, he is the best steal of this free agent class when it comes to the shortstop position, bar none, because you're not paying him into his 40s the way you're paying Bogaerts and Turner. You're not dealing with whatever the injury concern is long-term on Carlos Correa, who's not even playing great baseball up to this point in the season. And here's Dansby Swanson, once again, plugging away, putting up big F4 totals, and finding a way to help his team win baseball games. So 7 years, $177 million, Chicago Cubs might have just gotten the best shortstop from the 2023 free agent class. Good deal for them, and we'll see how it continues throughout the rest of this season and beyond. Thank you for tuning in to today's edition of Who's Better Baseball. Be back with another player breakdown later this week. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on Twitter, Finkelstein Ryan, and check out all of the content that we got coming on the website. A lot of good written stuff at justbaseball.com.